Greetings and thank you for tuning in to My Journey with Paula G. We'd like to thank our underwriters, the Good Actor Studio of Marietta, Georgia, my coffee shop at East Lake, Pastor's Time International Bible College, Augusta, Georgia, with Dr. Paul and Marcia Kelly, Creekside Dental Incorporated of Douglasville, Georgia, Lusu Designs with Brandon Sampson of Maryland, Survival Radio Network and Clicks Photography by Clark Garrison, and Positive Power XXI Christian Media and Radio Network with Journey Was Live worldwide. We hope you enjoyed this presentation and tune in again. Embrace the journey with Paula G.
Greetings, I am Paula G, and I invite you on my journey to Lady Wisdom After Midnight. It's a journey that will guide you and show you how you can make it through your jagged seasons of life. You may pick up some useful pearls of wisdom as you travel through those thought-provoking pages that can steer you through your obstacles and guide you to your new season of discovery and change. My Journey to Lady Wisdom After Midnight is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. So get your copy today and embrace the journey. Welcome to My Journey with Paula G. I'm so glad that you have joined us for another episode. This season, we are coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. Positive Power 21 and Paula G Unlimited have collaborated to bring you this season from Atlanta, and we thank each and every person that has made this season possible. We thank them so very much for their support and for their input, and we hope that you will enjoy the show. Now, for today's inspirational word, it comes from one of our supporters, Miss Hadia George. And Hadia says, and this is a quote from Marianne Williamson that Hadia likes, and it is, "Forgiveness is not always easy." Oh my gosh, we can relate to that, right? Yeah. Forgiveness is not always easy. At times, it feels more painful than the wound we suffered. To forgive the one that inflicted it. And yet, there's no peace without forgiveness. Let me read that again. Forgiveness is not always easy. At times, it feels more painful than the wound we suffered. To forgive the one that inflicted it. And yet, there's no peace without forgiveness. There's no peace without forgiveness. I know to get to forgiveness, sometimes it is a journey in itself because we're filled with hurt, and we're filled with anger, and we're filled with pain. But we've got to journey through those emotions so we can get to the point of forgiveness, because as they say, forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about us. So I hope that encourages you today. With us today, I'm so happy to have this young lady who is going to share her journey. She has come to the end of one journey, and she's literally at the beginning stages of another journey. So I know she's going to encourage some of you out there that are watching. But she is a veteran of the U.S. military, and I can't remember what branch, but we're going to talk about that. She is a veteran of the U.S. military. She's an author, and she's on the verge of a new journey. She is Monique Washington. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I'm glad to have you, and I'm excited about the journey that you're about to embark on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me here today.
You are so welcome. So tell us a little bit about your past. You are just maybe, a year and a half out of the military. You've been in the military?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your military career.
I was in the Air Force for a little over 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And traveled the world, got to see a lot, do a lot of things, and some of my fondest memories were being deployed, believe it or not, being deployed. Yeah. And the impact I was able to make over there. So just the children, the families, it was awesome being able to bond and share the love of Christ with them, which was awesome. And coming back home is always a plus.
Yes.
Coming back home is always a plus. But being in the military, there were a lot of things you could and could not do.
Yes. Yeah.
Thus, being a civilian, here I am today. So
that's a transition.
It is.
From military life to civilian life. For those who have not made that transition, that at least for me, that was a little traumatic.
It is. It is, because you're used to a certain structure.
Yes.
and people, and the camaraderie is very different.
Yes.
And being able to interact with civilians and you in the military, our language is
Language
definitely
is
different.
We're speaking acronyms.
Exactly, all the time. So time, we was always big on time, right? So, but you learn to adapt and adjust, and that was part of my journey, being able to adapt and adjust to being a civilian, not wearing a uniform every day. Now, granted, do I miss wearing a uniform? Sometimes, but not really. I'm enjoying my freedom.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Just being able to, wear my nails differently, my hair a different color, little small perks, Yes. But
what were some of the things in the military? You said some of the highlights were believe it or not, the deployments, and I can kind of understand that. What do you feel were some of the, because we hear so much about the military, and we, those of us who have experienced it, know there are pros to being in the military, there are cons to being in the military, and even after coming out of the military, still coexisting with some of those things. So what do you feel that you're comfortable sharing some of the challenges that you maybe are still faced with today as you're transitioning to civilian life?
With being a civilian now, the treatment that you receive, because when you don't wear that uniform, you are just a regular person.
Yes.
And I experienced that in and out. When I was in uniform, I got treated differently. It's a certain respect, certain thing that we were given. And when you're outside the uniform, you're just a regular old plain Jane Doe. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But you have to face. You deal with anxiety. You deal with depression. You face those different things. And I dealt with anxiety and I dealt with depression on a different level. Not so much with the military side. That a little bit of that, but just with what I left behind, which brought me here to Atlanta area. So how things transitioned for me, I was being successful as far as business-wise, and things was beginning to blossom for me. But God wanted to get my attention. And so he got my attention one day. I had a meeting and everything at my job, at my office, and I came back to my desk. I couldn't, my speech, everything. I had my first seizure. Didn't even know anything about seizures, anything of that nature. And so that really, when I was in the ambulance bed, I remember the Holy Spirit saying to me, I'm saving you. I had orders to go overseas again, and I love traveling, so I was ready to go.
Deploy, even though it was a deployment, you ready to go.
I was looking forward to getting up out of there. Right. But it was a wake-up call. It was like, okay, it was a wake-up call. So several months later, I ended up, I wrote my first blog. Wrote my first blog, and how that even started, which was the preface to my first book, Kingdom Mindset, Kingdom Thinking.
Kingdom Minds and Kingdom Thinking.
Yes, that my very first book. And so how that started, I was couldn't drive. So I was
because of the seizures. Doing
the seizures. I actually began to have so many of them, and I had a mini stroke and everything. It was just like, I needed to get out of the environment where I was. I had different things going on, but it was like, okay, I love fitness. I was a trainer and everything, but it was like, let me sit her down, because there's a purpose I need for her to fulfill. And so it took me dealing with those different things. And
so the seizures is what God's way of getting your attention. Yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Him getting my attention.
Okay.
Even though I was doing different things, living my life, and I think I had it all together. Yes. You would thought I had it all together, all figured out. Because I'm still transitioning out of the military, but I didn't want to let go. Because see, sometimes we don't want to let go of things. Right. I still had unforgiveness in my heart. I was still angry about so many different things I had experienced in the military, because a lot of things get swept under the rug. Yes. People do things they aren't supposed to do to you, and it gets swept under the rug. Right. So you read that in my first book.
Yes, and like you said, you have to reach a point where you have to let go, before you can transition to the next point in your life and what it is that God has for you to do. Right. And right now we have to let go.
Yes.
So we can take a break and come back and continue our conversation, about your transition from the military. You're now an author. Yes. And this is a new journey for you. This is brand new. So we want to take a moment to talk about that a little bit. We're here today on My Journey with Paula G, and we're talking with Monique Washington. She's a military veteran, and she's sharing a bit of her journey of, her time in the military. And we those of us who have experienced the military, there are definitely pros to being military, whether it's active duty,
right.
a spouse, family member, like you said, the travel, getting to live in different places, meet different people, definitely is a plus. But there are some challenges that come along with it, and out of that, life in the military and the deployments, the combat assignments, the hazard duty, all of that, anxiety, depression, and all of those things. Yet when we come out on the and then when we come out on the other side, we still have to live life. So we're going to talk about that in a few moments. When we come back, this is My Journey with Paula G. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you to our underwriter, author Dr. Byron D. Herndon. Dr. Herndon's book, Heart Condition, is a touching story about a young boy born with a tiny hole in the center of his heart. Despite this hole, he never felt like love was lost from within. This condition, one may say, caused him to live in fear. But he grew closer to God through this tiny, stubborn hole that refused to develop at his birth. His parents and siblings showered him with love despite this tiny hole. Heart Condition, a story about growing with God. Visit www.skythunderradio.com. Welcome back to My Journey with Paula G, and we are here with my guest today, Monique Washington. And before the break, she was sharing a bit of her journey through the military and her military career. And we had a conversation about some of the pros of the military and some of the cons and the remnants of some of the cons. So you've just been out a little over a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yes.
So we're transitioning to civilian life, which is, as I said before, for some of us it's traumatic. That's a traumatic transition.
Right.
And on the threshold also of being an author, you spoke about you were blogging for a while. So tell us a little bit about that. And you're just starting. Right. So that, that's really an exciting journey to see what God is doing in your life. So share with us a little bit about your experience so far being an author.
Oh my gosh, it is amazing, truly amazing. I remember when the first book came out, Kingdom Mindset, Kingdom Thinking, and I got a copy of my books. I was in awe, truly in awe, just amazing. The feedback, the message, the feedback I got from authors, how they were, not other authors, but from people, and some authors, how they were inspired, they were encouraged. And so when the Lord shared with me how his message, how his word would get out, because I'm a teacher, and that's my gifting as a teacher, and so how he shared with me how the word would get out would be through me writing the books. So I have 6 books out, but one book in particular that's new, I released, is called Chain Breaker, and it deals with forgiveness, lining up with the topic.
That's just what we were...
Yes. And so I dealt with forgiveness and having to go back to my childhood, and each one of the books I've written, anyone can relate to, male or female, in every topic. So with Chainbreaker, I literally had to go back and forgive my father, my mother, and even the lady, because I grew up in a foster home for a little while, and so I had to go back and forgive that lady too. So God required me to dig deep. So the books that I've written, anyone can relate to. It's inspired to encourage someone, because I had to really face everything. And when I mentioned about dealing with healing, and even a process of what I experienced in the military as well, I had to be healed from that too, so that I can be free, so I can write authentically. I can't give you fluff and junk and make up some stuff or whatnot, because that's not what God said. That's not what he requires. So my first blog was my first book. It was my blog was called Simply Beautiful SB, and it was inspiring because I wanted young ladies to know that they were fearfully and wonderfully made in God's image, and they were not they weren't ugly based on what society said. They had to meet society's requirements because we put so much pressure on them.
Yes.
So
yes.
thus my writing journey began after having all those seeds, been in the hospital, so forth and so on. I actually had to walk into this part of my purpose, you know, what God wanted me to do and spread His word.
And you know, it's so inspiring because as you're speaking, I'm sitting and I'm listening. I'm like, this is the same woman who just said in the earlier segment, I had a stroke, multiple seizures. I didn't even know what they were. Yes. And, you know, coming through that.
Yes, yes.
You know, still, and I'm sure still challenged with yes. some remnants of that as well. Yes, yet moving forward and doing what you feel God has called you to do. And that's encouraging to, you know, any of you out there that may have experienced, you know, some similar health issues, some similar health concerns, to know that you can come through it.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
You can come, and I'm starting to use that word overcoming very gently now, because in some of these conversations and with some of the guests talking about overcoming their different perspectives on what that actually means. You know, just kind of starting to be conscious of that. Right. So, where do you see your journey going
now? I see it actually in this phase of my life. I see God allowing me to. I have a nonprofit, the Worthy Academy, which allows me to teach and to share and bring different perspectives, different people in, to teach them to share the Word of God, teach them etiquette, teach them, I call it Kids Bop, one of my magazines. You know, Kids Bop is a business outside of parents, because I want them to have that outlet.
That's
the outlet.
Bop. The business outside of parents.
Because as a mentor, as a young person, you know, not too young, but young enough, young people will share certain topics, certain things, and they need that outreach. And so with my experience as, you know, being an author, giving them that platform to speak and to share, and also encourage them with their reading, writing, grammar. So my journey now is just speaking, teaching, spreading the gospel. Hopefully be a bestseller. I'm going to put that out there one day in Jesus' name.
Speak it into existence. Yes. A bestseller.
A bestseller, yes, have a bestseller. But really just being able to impact people for God's ministry. Ultimately, that's the ultimate goal. Yeah. And you provide me with this platform, so prayerfully, you know, someone is encouraged and inspired to walk their journey, walk in faith, truly. Yeah. Just being a disciple. You know? Right.
So, what, you know, as you're continuing this journey, and sometimes I'm sure you sit and you think about, you know, the Monique of yesterday.
Yo, my Lord, that girl. She was something else.
So talk to us a little bit about the Monique of yesterday.
Oh, the Monique of yesterday. Oh my gosh, she was a mess. She came from a good family and everything like that, but she had a temper. She had an attitude. She actually became promiscuous, you know, because she didn't feel loved. She didn't feel cared for. She was a fighter, you know. She was a fighter.
She'd be ready to fight you.
She'd be ready, but she also dealt with bullying and everything like that as well. But she finally had to learn to love herself, and she's still learning to love herself. But that old Monique is, she's gone, you know. Every day she takes a new step to get closer and progress. So she believes that anyone and anything can walk in healing, be whole, and be healthy. Not just say it, but live it.
Yeah.
You know,
she's a living witness.
Yes, definitely. The new Monique, old Monique, you know, she didn't have time to hear what you had to say, because she loved God then, you know what I'm saying, but she would turn up and cut up on you for a quick second, you know what I'm saying?
Don't mess with Monique.
For real, I love people, you know, I love God too, but I'm just being honest, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we do here. That's what we do.
Yes, so I just, that's how we have to be able to relate to people, you know? Being able to relate. So my journey is not yours, but if you can be inspired by it, you know, that's what matters.
Yeah. And share with us, we only have a couple minutes left, maybe just a closing encouraging word for our audience members. What God has for you, it is for you. So I would say that. Don't let no one deter you or stop you from achieving your goals and your dreams. But make sure they are in line with His
So I learned that the hard way. So.
but it's a lesson learned. Right?
It is definitely a lesson learned. I got a poem called Lesson Learned.
All right now.
But,
all right.
Thank you for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely. Share with the audience how they can reach out to you.
Or you can reach out to me at www.mowtheauthor.com. You can find me there on all social media outlets as well.
Wow. And you know, the one of the messages amongst many that I heard was forgiveness.
Definitely.
And how you have to go back and forgive. And I hope you all heard that too. You know, we all have things that occur in our life. People hurt us so terribly badly sometimes, and we're, you know, just so overcome with hurt and anger and pain. But at some point, and I know it's difficult, I'm preaching to myself, I know it's difficult, we have to release that.
Yes.
We have to let go of that so we can have the freedom to walk in what it is that God has called us to do and to walk in our own purpose. So I hope that you have gained something from this episode. I know you gained something from this episode that will help you on your journey. We thank you so much, Monique, for joining us here on My Journey with Paula G. Be encouraged. Continue to embrace your journey. Until next time.
Who I am. My name is Jerry Royce, and I am a son, a father, a brother, a husband, and a friend. I am a TV and radio producer, director, and filmmaker. I am grateful, animated, and energetic, and loving and kind. I love and like all people, but mostly good people, that is. I'd like to tell you about an upcoming docuseries called Who I Am. It's designed to have our black men tell their story, their journey with transparency. Tell America and the world who we are. You see, some of Americans and many other places around the world only believe that black men are only successful as athletes, movie stars, and rap stars. We're here to paint a different picture and share our downfalls and our rebounds. With the help of God and mentorships, how we took a second chance and became a staple in our communities, gave back, how we support our families and our communities. We just want to tell our story. In episode 19, Taj Alexander, an author, rapper, and poet, and now a successful businessman on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, will share his story. He will share in his docuseries how he grew up, my father's father, who had committed suicide when he was a very young boy, and left him in a cold world alone with his mom and a few role models. How he survived jail and prison, how he triumphed, became a role model for others, an entertainer, and a successful businessman for his young son to look up to. This is his story. Please tune in next Wednesday night on Xfinity, Comcast, and the Cab 25 or the Earth Channel at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Jerry Royce Live Facebook page and hear this story told by Taj Alexander on Positive Power WXI Original Films. Thank you. Greetings and thank you for tuning in to My Journey with Paula G. We'd like to thank our underwriters, the Good Actors Studio of Marietta, Georgia, my coffee shop at East Lake, Pastor's Time International Bible College, Augusta, Georgia, with Dr. Paul and Marcia Kelly, Creekside Dental Incorporated of Douglasville, Georgia, Lusu Designs with Brandon Sampson of Maryland, Survival Radio Network, and Clicks Photography by Clark Garrison, and Positive Power WXI Christian Media and Radio Network with Jerry Royce Live worldwide. We hope you enjoyed this presentation and tune in again. Embrace the journey.